All right, so it's pretty late, so I don't know how far I'll get on this tonight, but yesterday I caught this nice shad while we were fishing our local pond. Shad's a major bait forage fish, and I've had an idea in my head for a lure for a little while. My boys back east are fishing these giant swim baits right now, and kind of want to make something. So I'm going to take this shad, I'm going to dimension it, get a profile on it, and then get some points of reference. What the body tape is like, how big it is, what its belly is, how thick, how tall the tail is in relation to the body, dorsal fin, stuff like that. And then later I might do something with that. But tonight I'm going to start building a mold for this. I don't know how far I'll get because it's been a hot minute since I've made a mold, and life cast molds are fun, but I'm also a little OCD, so sometimes it takes me a bit to get everything just the way I want it before molding something. But we're just going to dive in. I'm going to show you the shad. First thing we're going to do is do an outline drawing, get a contour, and then transfer that to a clean sheet of paper and take some dimensions. Eye size is important, gill, those little pectoral fins, all that good stuff. So I don't know, hopefully this works out, hopefully it's cool. I don't know, I haven't been in the shop in a while. It's summer, or it's the end of summer here in Arizona, still hot as fuck. Yeah, let's see. All right, so I stretched out that dorsal fin a bit, and it goes a little bit more. We got these anal fins here, these little fins down here, and these pectoral fins that actually really open up. So I'm gonna set this guy aside for a second. We got our rough outline. I'm gonna cut this out so I can work on a clean sheet of paper, make a stencil real quick, and then start taking some dimensions and some numbers and go from there. Quick modifications before I cut this out. Just made some notations where the body ends before the tail starts, kind of rounded out some areas, and I realized that that dorsal fin was sticking out too high if I was ever going to do this as a lure body. So I just dropped it down a little bit, made it a little more, changed the profile, cleaned up the edges outside of where that anal fin is, I guess. Just to make it a little smoother curve, get a little better profile out of that. All right. I just realized that if I'm doing detail work like this, I should probably have on my old man glasses. All right, quick cut out of that stencil, that trace on the outline. What I'm probably gonna do is, once I get dimensions on this, put it into like Photoshop, print out an actual picture of the fish, and get that contour lined up with an actual contour, but we'll see how this progresses. Alright, I just remembered I had a couple cool Adobe apps, one that does like a 3D trace, gives you some contours, and one that captures colors. So I just did a couple snaps off this fish body just to get those points of reference. I don't know if they'll be useful later, but just in case. I got the caliper out. Unfortunately, it's in inches, and the digital one I ordered didn't arrive, but I got a bunch of dimensions. I'll just have to do some conversion stuff on the computer and figure it out. But I got a bunch of dimensions, really narrow fish, big, wide, plain body, a lot of reflection from that. This should be kind of fun. Gonna take a look at what it's gonna need for a mold here and then work from that. All right, next is quickly pulled the initial pattern out of the trash just to work on the mold box. Gave the fish a little rinse and stuck them back in the fridge. I don't want it to dry out too much before we do a life cast of it. So that's the plan right now. All right, quick little measurement. Gonna make a Lego box mold. It's not something that I've ever done, using Legos for mold walls, but I see a lot of people do it, and I think it's a really good idea. You can actually dimension this a lot closer and make a box that actually fits what you're looking to mold, and it's easy to demold, and it's got smooth sides that should be really easy release for alginate. And I got another little trick I want to try later on once we actually get the model in there. So I'm going to cut out, add some threaded rod, got a funnel, I got a melamine shelf that I'm going to cut on the Hitachi chop saw that I have, which I fucking love. I'm gonna run the threaded rod up through the body is my plan. Get it vertical in this mold box, but I'm gonna make a foundation out of wood so I have something to actually bolt to that's gonna be a good release. And then this is gonna end up being tomorrow or the next day because it's getting late, but that's the plan. So we're gonna try and cut that out, get that set up, get some holes drilled in it for a little wing nut and the threaded rod, and maybe a big stack of washers to get it pressured up underneath the funnel. The funnel will do two things. The alginate I have is a little old and hopefully it works, but more importantly, I don't have a ton of it. So it's gonna take up a chunk of space, and it's also gonna be a really good pour spout if I wanna nose pour this. But I may set it up so that there's a secondary pour from the belly, which would be a better place if I was actually doing a lure. This is all just a test, so it doesn't really matter, but I do want to figure it out and see what actually works good, because there's going to be some venting problems, I think, especially along those tails and fins. So yeah, all right, some measuring, some cutting, and more fun. All right, I just cut out a little melamine base to go in here. This is going to be the foundation that threaded rod gets screwed to. The fucking Lowe's had crappy hardware today, so I had to kind of improvise, but we're going to do a wing nut on the bottom, but that fits in there beautifully. To do the wing nut though, it's going to be a little bit raised, so I'm going to put some bumpers in the bottom of the layer and leave a center hole for the wing nut to tighten down on, and then we'll work with that. Okay. So it's a little bit random, but I just threw some Legos in there. This cavity right here is the important one. This is going to be our central point, and that's where this wing nut is going to go on the bottom of this base and sit. Oh, good thing I checked that. It doesn't actually sit in there. Well, maybe that will work. If I go on the angle, it doesn't actually go side to side. So I'm going to open that up a little bit because I don't want to deal with that. But that's going to hold the vertical rod. That's going to keep the shad vertical in this mold box. So yeah. Alright, so it's awesome because I'm pulling all these tools out of my tool cabinet that I haven't used in a while, and it's fun to use them. But my shop's not really set up for making these kinds of things, and if I was going to do this not at 2:30 in the morning, I'd probably do it slightly different. That last step was cutting the threaded rod down to a length that's going to incorporate the funnel along with a little bit of gap and the body length of the shad. And to be able to work the threaded rod into its body, I put a good taper on it, made a kind of sharp point. Really hacked it. It's not a big deal. It's just to be able to push through the flesh if need be. But if you have a lathe or a circle disc grinder or a belt sander, something, even a grinding wheel of any type, I could have put a flap wheel on my angle grinder, put in the vise and done it horizontally or vertically off that, but I had the regular grinding wheel on and just ground it down to a point. So I'll give you a little peek of that and we'll move on. We're going to start setting this up to get a vertical thing and then building our mold box around it. It's definitely going to be a multi-day project all of a sudden because now it's getting late. So here we go. So this is crude, but what I just did is I cut this down to about 14 inches, which our total length of our shed is 12 inches, but the nose to the end of the fork, the actual body, was 10.5 inches. So I allowed 3.5 inches for our little funnel here and some play with the threads and the nuts and just tightening it all down. I don't really want this to penetrate through the tail. I want it to get as deep in the body as possible to keep it as vertical as possible and to be able to slowly insert this eventually just before we make our mold and tweak it to get as rigid and as vertical of a casting as we can. So just a little sharp point, smooth that out. We still have all of our thread rods. We did a little trick if you've never cut thread rod before. You put 2 nuts on and then you cut between it, and then when you pull them off, when you twist them off, you're gonna clear any burr that you might have had on your threaded rod and still make it threaded without getting a tap and die set out and like re-threading that thing. So really quick tip if you're ever doing anything with threaded rod or a bolt and you just need to shorten it down. Put a nut on there first and then back it off afterwards. It will clear out your threads and you're good to go. Okay, so I knew this was going to be a problem. We're just going to have to adjust with another layer of Legos. The wing nut, for some reason they didn't have 3/8/16 hex nuts at the store. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. But that's sticking out quite a bit. So over here, the blue and yellows in the center are going to raise up a level, hopefully, and allow clearance. And I just need to go an extra layer just to give it that boost so that clears. And then what's going to happen, hopefully, is we're going to thread our shad straight down this spike and stop it just above the funnel. The funnel will be our pour spout to pour it from the mouth, and we'll have a clean release plate on the melamine here. That's the idea, at least. You know, I haven't done this in a bit, so we'll just see. But so far, it's kind of coming together the way I envisioned it, but sometimes you just never know. All right, so I added an extra layer. I'm running out of Legos, so tomorrow I need to get the boys to do some recon for me and pull some of those Legos out that we need to build this box, because we got to go from this plane all the way above this plane, significantly above. So it's going to take quite a few of these 2x4 or 2x2, 1x2, and 2x3 blocks. Occasionally I had a couple bigger ones that I could throw in there, but our fit is really sturdy. I think we're gonna have a really nice lock once we get this all together. What I might do real quick is just build out the corners just so we get the lock and see what we got, where we're at before we head to bed. All right, I think this is a good place to stop for tonight. We got this pretty much level. We got it squared up. It's locked in. The mounting fits perfectly. We're going to be able to fill that little tiny gap with a little bit of oil-based clay or whatever I could grab. And then tomorrow we'll continue with this build. Cool. Okay, so we're working on night 2 of our, what do we call it? Shad life cast mold here. Last night I was working on a Lego box mother mold, and while I think that's probably a great method for certain things, this one's too tall and it's using like hundreds of Legos, and it's just not gonna work. And I decided to make the base smaller, make the cavity a little smaller, because I know I have a limited amount of alginate for this one. I gotta pick up some more. So I'm gonna cut down my base, I'm gonna build it up, and then I think I'm gonna try using foam core and do something different here. So hopefully this doesn't blow out and make a huge mess everywhere, but we're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna start working on it. So I redid my mold box, I cut down the base, changed this thing, went with foam core sides. I figured out it needed to be almost 18 inches tall, maybe even taller to accommodate this fish. It's 12 inches long, plus the funnel and the base and the whole thing. And I'm looking at my algae and it says, important, limited shelf life, used as soon as possible. This is probably 5 years old. So this could all really be for naught, but whatever. It's fun doing it, and you know, we'll just see what happens. Okay, so we got our fish back out. It's been in the fridge since Thursday. Still got really clear eyes. I don't know how well that's come through. The color's still gorgeous. those coppers and those bronzes on the top, the way that reflects. Love that. And that hint of silver to black there. So rotate this a little. Here's our initial mold box. It's missing a side, but I've marked it that this is going to be our bottom and our cut line side. This is where the anal fins and tails are going to go, and we're going to make a cut in there to split this and get this shad out of this box, hopefully, when it happens. I just panned over some Power Pro. What I'm going to do with the Power Pro is I got this little hook needle here. And put a little stitch in the top of the dorsal fin and on the tail, because I want to splay that out. I don't want it all constricted like that. I want to get as much as possible in there. And the big question of the night is this alginate from Smooth On. It's like 5 years old, but I measured it out. You mix these 1-to-1 by volume, so I got 90, just shy of 96 ounces and just over 96 ounces of water, warm water. And I did that because I want to capture as much detail as possible. I want to give time for the air bubbles to come out. So we're gonna mix that up, get the drill all ready. I gotta do a couple things, and then the idea is to spike this vertically right down the throat. Do a quick touch up with clay, and then get this molded, hopefully. All right, in that last part, things didn't go exactly as planned. Lowe's was at a 1/4-20 threaded rod, and I went with 3/8, and skewering this thing on a 3/8 rod blew it out a little bit, and it didn't go exactly well. I didn't get down as far as I wanted it to go, and it made positioning the fins and tail a little funny. You also saw me closing its asshole and mopping up blood because now it's dripping. So we'll see. We're gonna keep going. All right, this next part. I said earlier, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I think I got everything laid out. I got my rubber gloves. I got my palm sander to vibrate the air bubbles out. I got my mixer. I got my pre-measured water and alginate. I have some stirring sticks. Oh, they're on the wrong side. Need to go get those. Okay, this is the part where we just kind of go for it. We hope that all these plans and all these measurements and everything works, and you know, that we can get a good mold and hopefully get a cast out of this tonight. Okay. All right. So I put my final side on. You can see that here. This is the bottom edge that I hopefully am gonna cut. I had to flip it kind of over, and I wanted to make sure that the shad didn't move. So after I taped up all my edges, they're all taped up there, I'm gonna do a final inspection down here, and I don't know how sharp this is, but because I think it's focusing on the tail. The blood's gone down there. I put this little square wooden dowel in here. That's going to be my parting line, hopefully, to help get this out. And then you can see there's a little piece of tape where the tail and dorsal fin were taped into place. After the skewer went through, it has a little curve to it, so I don't know. I positioned the tail and the fin to go with that. We'll see. well, pretty much the worst thing happened, and I was afraid of it from early on, or one of the things I was afraid of. Fuck. We just didn't have enough alginate. So we're going to get, if this even works, like 3/4 or 2/3 of a fish, which really sucks. Damn it. Well, I guess we'll still take it out. We'll see what happens here. But, damn. All right. It's been about 10 minutes. Alginate should be all set up. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty bummed that this didn't work out, that we didn't have enough material just to do it properly. God damn it. Oh well. Learned a few things. We'll see how it comes out. Okay. All right, so we cut our little fish out of our mold just now. Even though I'm super bummed about the material shortage, a couple things on this worked really, really well. I had partitioned lines on the sides of my base, and I just cut it off, and that whole funnel and rigid spike slid immediately out. I'd also used some of these wooden ribs, and I glued them to the side of the box to make a dividing line. That worked really well. Fish came out really easily, just gently slicing with an X-Acto knife or a razor blade. And other than the spillage and all that, or lack of stuff, there wasn't a lot of spillage, there wasn't a lot of leakage in this box. Held up and released super easy with the alginate. So all really positive things to know. I don't know, we just gotta figure out a way to clog up one end here and make a cast. All right, I took a little break just to try and figure out what I want to do here. And since at this point this thing's fucked, the real purpose is just to see if you can get a good life cast doing this. So I was gonna try and, hold on. I was thinking that I could try and clog that hole and pour from the side where I originally put the little funnel to make that pour spout. But since it's already blown, I think it's going to be much easier to use that as a plug to fill up this end and just pour from this side just to see if this works. And if it does, I'll have to clean up on the mouth instead of just cutting off the backside flush. But whatever, it's an extra step down the road if it works. So let's do it. Okay, I guess this is the moment of truth. Got our mold, our alginate mold, all cinched up back in the original mother mold, wrapped with duct tape here, but clamped 4 different ways down to get this little seam as close and tight as possible. I just opened up a little bit more, but it was looking really good a minute ago. We're gonna water mix our plaster. We got our plaster here. We got our mixer. We got our sander to vibrate it and get the air bubbles out. And I think we're good to go. first go of pouring this mold. Let's see what happens. I made way too much plastic, but if this was resin or plastic, something, I would measure volume pour out of the cavity and do a little more research before just mixing it with a batch. But it's been a hot minute since I made any plaster, and I made way more than I needed. All right, time to clean up the tools and let this set overnight. Yeah, it's time to see if this works, or worked, sort of. Push right there and get rid of the slashing. Oh, nice. Just realized I didn't rinse that off last night. I'm an idiot. Alright. Well, I don't know. The detail's just not really there in this thing. It's not what I hoped for at all. I might go to Smooth On this week and see what else they got, because that did not do what I wanted it to do at all.